Yo, what's up, y'all? Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host, and today we got 3 articles we got to talk about. 2 of them come from the Red State, and the other one comes from the New York Post. So before we go any further, guys, if you guys love Nikki's World so much, please consider donating a cup of coffee, because seriously, guys, for a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, guys, you guys help keep this podcast show alive. You guys help me curate more stories and more topics like this to talk about. Also, guys, I do accept Bitcoin donations. I'm also on Patreon if you guys want to sponsor this podcast show. If you guys love Nikki's World so much, please hit that like, subscribe. Please give me a review, good, bad, and the ugly. And before we get this show on the road, guys, if you guys love this episode and any of my other episodes on Nikki's World, please consider sharing this across all the social media platforms that are out there today. Okay, guys, I'm diapered up as always, so let's get this show started, okay? So today, I got 3 articles that I want to hit upon today, and 2 of them come from the Red State, and 1 of them come from the New York Post. And the first article I'm going to talk about comes from the New York Post, and the headline reads, Trump wanted to publicly grill Fauci on the Wuhan lab funding and build China for the pandemic. Let me tell you this, guys. Anthony Fauci should have been fucking arrested a long time ago. I said this yesterday in my previous episode of the show, but I didn't realize how extensive this was until this article landed on my lap today, okay? President Trump, during this pandemic, wanted Fauci in front of a presidential commission to give evidence about funding the Wuhan laboratory suspected of leaking the Wuhan coronavirus. There were plans underway, guys, during this pandemic to have Fauci called in front of a presidential commission to find out what's going on with this and why is our taxpayer dollar being used to fund this shit, okay? And judging by this article, this is damning as it gets from the New York Post, okay? This is damning because there is revelations going on that our previous administration before Trump, which was the Obama administration, helped funded this laboratory that leaked the pandemic, okay? That caused a worldwide pandemic. And there is speculation that the Obama administration funded this biological weapon unbeknownst to the taxpayers. Okay? So, pretty much, guys, this is damning evidence because Trump wanted Fauci publicly grilled for funding the lab and finding out what was he actually funding. Okay? This is why, guys, I think it's time that this country confronts China and basically make China pay for the pandemic that they caused around the globe. Okay? And then this leads me to the other article I want to talk about. And these articles interlink with each other, guys. Is that from the Red State? Why was the U.S. Department of Defense funding a bioweapons research in Wuhan? Color me shock here, guys. Color me shock here. Why is it that our tax dollars was being used to fund this? Why was our money being used to fund this bioweapon that we didn't know about until this pandemic started? Okay? Why? It seems to me that Trump was trying to uncover this pandemic and who was funding this, who was paying for this, who was literally like bankrolling this. And it seems to me that Trump was trying to uncover this. The left was trying to call him, oh, he's a fascist, he's an authoritarian, he's a bigot, he says mean tweets. Gee, I do miss those mean tweets that the leftists think that they are, you know? Because they're the ones that are covering the actual truth and getting shit done in this country, okay? So, both of these articles from the New York Post and Red State, guys, there's revelations going around that Dr. Fauci, who worked under the Obama administration, was bankrolling this lab in China, who created a bioweapon that accidentally escaped the lab and caused a worldwide pandemic. So I have to sit here and go like this. We need another 9/11 style commission to get to the bottom of this shit. If it turns out that our previous administration funded this research and funded this gain of function research, which was essentially a biological weapon that escaped the lab, then the people who did this should be charged with crimes against humanity and should be thrown in prison and never ever see the light of day ever again, guys. I kind of sit there as I read these articles and I kind of wonder like this. How can our fucking government do such a thing like this? How can our fucking government get away with this shit right under our noses, right under the taxpayers' noses, and try to hide it so deep? It seems what we need right now is a full-blown audit in this country. Every voter and every taxpayer should demand an audit. They should audit the federal government, audit the state government, the local government, okay? There should be a full-blown audit to find out what's going on in this country. What the fuck is going on with our government? Because basically like this, the shit like this that's going on, like the pandemic that has happened on this planet and people dying from this pandemic, I'm telling you, man, there should be another 9/11 style commission to get to the bottom of this shit. Okay? Because the shit that's going on right now, guys, I swear to God, guys, I swear to God, it needs to be uncovered. We need to drag the truth into the limelight, okay? We need to literally, guys, drag the ugly fucking truth out. Because for some reason, guys, the liberal social media sites and the liberal media is covering for Dr. Fauci, circling the wagons and trying to protect their sacred cow. Because basically, guys, the left, the liberal media, and the liberal social media wants to use this pandemic to keep people in fear. Okay? They thrive on what they call fear porn. And that's what they are. That's what the Democrats are. Okay? So the one thing I want to get out of these two articles is that, let's just say like this. Trump was trying to uncover what was going on with this pandemic. Yes, he wanted Dr. Fauci in front of a presidential commission so we can uncover the origins of the Wuhan coronavirus. And my theory still stands, is that we basically funded, unbeknownst that we funded a bioweapons research lab, and this research kind of escaped the lab. Sort of like an animal, sort of like the most dangerous animal that you keep locked up in a zoo, but all of a sudden one day somebody made a stupid mistake, and next thing you know, boom, it escaped the lab and then caused mayhem and destruction. That's what I think it happened at the Wuhan corona. That's what I think that what happened with that Wuhan laboratory was that somebody was doing an experiment that was so dangerous that they made one fatal mistake and basically the thing escaped the lab. And then the Chinese government is trying to cover it up and trying to say, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. Oh, there's nothing wrong with this. Everything is okay. Just return back to normal. I'm telling you, man. What the world needs, guys, is a 9/11 style commission to uncover the ugly truth about what happened in that laboratory in China. Okay, we all know the Chinese government ain't gonna come clean, because we all know they're Marxist communists, and they rather die on the sword than to come clean with the truth and say, yeah, we were doing bioweapons research and inadvertently escaped the lab. They don't want to admit the truth, because to China, admitting the truth is like being humiliated, okay? And they don't want to admit that. But by God, man, we do need a 9/11 style commission to go after what happened in that lab, and if we had anything to do with it, whether we funded it or whether we researched it, we need to uncover it, because what these two articles is telling me is that I think like this, is that we unbeknownst funded a bioweapons experiment that basically escaped the lab and came over here. Pretty much, guys. Pretty much. And now with the Fauci emails being exposed and Senator Rand Paul exposing Dr. Fauci for his connections to that lab, I'm telling you this, guys. I'm telling you this. Shit like this is why we need to expose the ugly truth of Dr. Fauci's connections to the Wuhan laboratory. And if you guys want my God's honest opinion on this, is that I'll say this. The lab leak theory is real. The wet markets and the bat thing is just smoke and mirrors, covering their tracks. It's basically distracting people by saying, oh, it was the wet markets that caused this. Oh, it was the people eating bats. Let me tell you something. That was smoke and mirrors. That was basically covering their asses, because knowing that they did something god awfully wrong, and they did something that people would literally hunt them down for. Okay? People would literally hunt them to the ends of the earth and make sure they never see freedom ever again. All right? So this is why they covered it up by saying, oh, it was the wet markets and this. And they were saying, oh, it was people eating bats. No, it wasn't. It was basically some biological weapons experiment that the U.S. government, for some reason, was funding in the dark. And all of a sudden, their experiment that they were funding escaped the damn fucking lab. Okay? So anyway, the next article I do want to talk about, guys, and this comes from the Red State, and the title of the article, exactly how might China be made to pay for the COVID pandemic? Okay? Now, I know President Trump, during his term in office, he wanted China to pay for this pandemic that they caused. He wanted the slap sanctions, tariffs, make them pay by suspending trade deals with them, or even like basically putting trade sanctions or blocking China from access to the world market or the world community. Okay, even like this. This is my idea of making China pay. Fund Taiwan. Declare Taiwan as a sovereign country, as payback for the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic they caused. That's how I would make China pay and suffer royally. I would say like this. Guess what, China? Taiwan's a sovereign country. We're gonna fund their military and give them whatever they need, including submarines, including destroyers, and possibly cruisers. Okay, we'll fund that as a form of like a retaliation for what you caused by the pandemic. That would be my way. At the same time, I would slap China with trade sanctions. I would get China kicked off the UN, kicked out of every international organization like the World Trade Organization, the G5 or the G7. I would get them kicked out. And then at the same time, I would block China's access into America. That would mean for the next 10 years, every Chinese citizen is banned from visiting America. They would be permanently banned. Okay? And I would make it so hard for them to immigrate into the country. That would be my way of retaliating against China for causing this pandemic, okay? I would make it so hard for them to immigrate. I would say, well, if you're not connected to the Communist Party, then you could come to this country. But if you are connected to the Communist Party or the Communist apparatus or the Chinese Communist military, then sorry, we can't let you into our country. Simple as that, guys. The reason why I would want China to pay dearly for this is because they caused this pandemic. They caused this pandemic to get my father killed. Hell, I'd want reparations from the Chinese. I would call for reparations from the Chinese government. I would have the Chinese government royally pay for the pain and suffering of me having to cremate my father, watch my father die in the hospital, all because of this godforsaken pandemic that turned out to be a bioweapons research that escaped the lab. So I would literally be demanding that the Chinese government pay royally for this. And every American who had family members or significant others that died because of this pandemic, they should be demanding that the Chinese pay royally, okay? They should. And as punishment for China, they should be blocked from trading with America. Everything that they import into this country should be slapped with tariffs and taxes that would be so damn high that the Chinese, that it would make it costly for them. And at the same time, I would retaliate to China by saying, guess what, China? Taiwan's a sovereign nation. We're going to give them Ticonderoga cruisers. We're going to give them Arleigh Burke, one or two Arleigh Burke destroyers. Okay? And we're gonna help fund their submarine program by giving them access to submarine technology. And at the same time, I would say this: we're going to give Taiwan Patriot missile batteries as retaliation for like doing this pandemic shit. That's how I would go about doing it. And I don't care if China says, "Oh, the United States should respect one China policy." I would say to China, one China policy means shit, because after what you caused, okay, we can go back history to the first and second opium wars that they've started. Simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. Read the history, guys. Why do you think like this? Why do you think like this? China doesn't want to face punishment on the level of the first and second opium wars, because China knows the history of what happened to them during those times, and they don't want to face that again with this pandemic. Okay, because they know full damn well, if we have to literally go to war with China and punish them because of this pandemic shit, it's going to be a repeat of the first and second opium wars, and it's going to get even bloodier than the first and second opium wars. Okay, so that is my way of like making China pay royally and dearly for this, because I would make them pay so dearly that people would literally have to get rid of the Communist Party regime and just say, no, you're gone, bye. Kiss your ugly fat ass out the door. Because you know why, guys? Because you know why it's like this, guys. The way China's been bullying the world and trying to tell the World Health Organization to cover up this pandemic, because they don't want people to find out that they were experimenting in biological weapons. I tell you this much, guys. I tell you this. If we ever have to do another 9/11 commission on a global scale and find out that we're funding this shit, I would not be surprised, guys. I would not be surprised if we find out that the people who are funding this was from our own previous administration. The people responsible for this should be tried dearly for crimes against humanities and war crimes. Because essentially, what China just did was basically declared war on America. They fired the first shots. All right? Because basically, guys, if you want to boil this all down, what China did last year was essentially declared war on America. And they did it with using biological weapons instead of using nuclear weapons or conventional weapons. They basically declared war on the world by basically launching a biological weapons attack on America and the world, okay? And then inadvertently, they killed their own people while killing everyone else around the globe as well. So this is why, guys, this is why I think that, let's just say it's like this, that China needs to pay royally. I agree with President Trump, and basically like this, that China needs to be punished, and they need to face punishment on a global scale. They need to face sanctions and punishment that basically what we do to North Korea would look pale in comparison to them. Okay? I would basically punish China just like North Korea. I would block them from the world. I would block access to the world community. I would literally, guys, just say this to China. You ain't gonna trade with the world anymore. We're not gonna allow you to trade with the world community because you know why? You caused this pandemic shit. So as a result, we're blocking access to the trade. We're blocking access to the world. Okay, and then at the same time, I would punish the companies who are still doing business in China and saying, why are you supporting the Communist Party over there? Why are you supporting those people who caused that pandemic, who caused this whole shit to begin with? That's how I would be asking that. That's how I would be looking at that. Because you know why, guys? They caused all this shit. They caused the mess that we're in. And as a result, guys, we're having to deal with this. Okay? Yes, I do want reparations from the Chinese government because their pandemic killed my father. My father died on February 1st, 2021 due to the Wuhan coronavirus. And right now I'm still dealing with the aftermath of this, okay? I'm like this year going a whole year without a father because my dad died during this pandemic. Okay, yeah, I'm still suffering from this. You know, there's the aftermath of all this. Okay, there's the aftermath that I have to deal with this. And yes, I do want China to pay royally for this because they killed my father. You know, they killed my dad. All right, and I want China to pay royally. And I believe like this: for every person that died in this pandemic, the Chinese government should be paying for this royally. That means the Chinese would have to fork over their money to every country that had people that died from this, and the money should be distributed to the victims of it. Okay? And this is why I agree with what Trump said when he wanted China to pay for it, when he wanted reparations for it. And yes, I am calling for reparations. I want reparations for people who had victims that died of this pandemic. Okay? I want my government to basically go right in the face of China and say, you're paying for the shit and you're gonna pay for it fucking royally. And you're gonna pay for it in the worst way. Because I want China to suffer for this shit that they've done. Alright? And for the pandemic they caused and the result of their pandemic killing my father, I literally want China to pay for this. I want China to be held criminally and legally and civilly held responsible for this. Okay? And I want them to be held responsible for this. And if my government ain't gonna do it, then by God, we gotta find people that are willing to do this and that are willing to make China pay for this royally and in the worst fucking way possible, guys. And as I've said, guys, before we end the podcast for today, guys, as I said, the revelations that the idea that this came from a wet market, this came from eating bats, is getting tossed out the window very quick. And people who were saying, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory that it came from a lab leak," it's coming out every day that all these conspiracy theories are coming out as truths and dirty, ugly truths. And sooner or later, man, the drippings of truth is going to become a floodgate where people are going to be like this. Holy fuck shit. Did we actually do this shit? It's going to come out to be like that, guys. I'll tell you, man, it's going to come out. And one of these days, man, before the 2024 election, the ugly truth about this pandemic is going to come out, and it's going to come out in the worst way, guys. All right? So, anyway, guys, thanks for listening to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host. I will see y'all soon. Bye for now.